And welcome back, everyone, to SEC Media Days. And no better man to talk to during SEC Media Days than Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart, radio mogul, columnist mogul, TMG mogul. You're everywhere. You've done it all, and you've done SEC Media Days. Do you know how many of them yet?
Whatever the number. My first one was 1989, so whatever that number is. So I barely got through freshman algebra at Georgia, so I can't count very well.
Now,
So.
What's the biggest story this week? There are a lot of big stories, but what's one that interests you? What's the biggest story that interests you?
The one that interests me is Commissioner Sankey getting up today. And, most coaches, when they come up with the idea, they start talking about, should Congress get involved in the NIL? He's unequivocal. He didn't pull any punches. And I think that's the way to go about it. I don't like the idea of the federal government getting involved. But when you've got 30-something states making their own rules, you can't do that. That's not fair to everybody else, because one state's going to craft the rules to, hey, coach, what do you need? What do you need, coach? You tell, and we'll put it in there. That's not the way it works. So I like the fact that he was very forthright in saying that's something that's got to happen, and the status quo will not stand. We have to change. Even if it's going to be changed that people don't like, we've got to do it.
One of the stories to me that's concerning, and you being around Atlanta and Georgia such a long time and being around this conference a long time, is this Georgia, the stories that are coming out this offseason about the Georgia Bulldogs program, is it to a point that we should be concerned?
Well, I think anytime you have a loss of life, which you need to be concerned. But at the same token, I keep reminding you that you need to let this story play out. I've done this. I've been a reporter a long, long time, but it absolutely is concerning. And what I have said is that when it comes to issues like this, the speeding issue and stuff, which can lead to Georgia they need to do a better job. But this idea that the program is out of control and all that, no, I don't think that's where they are. But there's no question that they've addressed it, and they need to continue to address it.
For years, we talked about who could be there to maybe compete with Alabama in the West. LSU wins the West last year. Now we're saying who can compete with Georgia in the East. Is there a team to compete with Georgia this year?
I really don't think so. The only thing you can say is that Georgia goes to Tennessee on November 18th. And if Tennessee can just put themselves in a position where that game means something, and it could mean the SEC East, then that is the key. Georgia's more talented. Well, certainly is deeper, has more depth than Tennessee, and Tennessee still hasn't figured out exactly what it wants to do at quarterback yet. We'll see.
Well, and that's a problem, it seems, everywhere. Yeah. It might not be questions at quarterback, but bringing in guys that you haven't seen play yet, and we're seeing that throughout college football.
It's going to be interesting. A guy like Devin Leary who leaves NC State and going to Kentucky. That's going to be interesting to watch. Both Alabama and Auburn have added quarterbacks to their roster after spring practice. That is never a good sign.
Right.
That is never a good sign. So, yeah, the quarterback play is going to be really, really interesting. There are good quarterbacks. I mean, I like KJ Jefferson, the kid at Arkansas. I think he is really a special player.
The portal has really changed college basketball quickly as far as parity. Now, there are a lot fewer players that make an impact, so you can understand why. Will it make that big of an impact and create parity in football?
Well, yes, I think it will, because here's the deal. You take over a program and the numbers are down, you can rebuild your roster a lot faster. You can redo your roster a lot faster if you're not happy. So I think the coaches need to quit whining about the transfer portal. They've shrunk the number of days it's open by half. You got a 15-day window in the spring, 15-day window in December, and that's it. So I think it has changed everything, and the combination of transfer portal and NIL has really changed everything.
Now, some great coaches, obviously, and we're seeing them here in Nashville for SEC Media Days. You're a part of the foundation for the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year Award. What makes that award so special, and for you to be a part of it?
Well, thank you. The Dodd Trophy is different than other Coach of the Year awards because it's not just wins and losses. It takes into account academics, takes into account community service. Your team has to have a minimum 980 APR just to get on the watch list that they've revealed. Scholarship, leadership, integrity were the three pillars that Coach Dodd believed in. What makes it different is that we present the award. We go to the campus of the winner. Tulane's Willie Fritz was our winner this year. You saw how his season ended, what a special season he had. And we went to Tulane to present the award at the stadium where they've got a beautiful club level. And Coach Fritz had his entire team out there waiting on us to greet us and show us around the stadium. It was a very special night.
Very cool. And speaking of special, you also have another project among the things that you do, a book called The 19 of Green. I haven't read it, read about it, fascinated by the story. Tell us a little bit, if you can, about the story.
In the fall of 1970, a long time ago, I played on the first integrated football team of my high school, Greene County High School. That's where the name comes from. But in 1970, the courts had ruled you will integrate the school. We will no longer have segregated schools. And so there was a black school, there was a white school, and the two schools merged. The football teams merged. But when spring practice was over, we had 19 players, 7 black, 12 white, and hence the name the 19 of Green. We won a division championship, played for a region championship. But the book, I saw a team picture about 3 years ago, and I said, gee, I wonder what all these guys are doing now. And I called my quarterback, Charles Turner, who came over from the African-American school, and said, here's what I want to do. He loved the idea, and from that day when we met in Athens to have lunch, we started calling guys on our team that day and said, here's what we're going to do. And so Charles has been a tremendous help through the whole process, and it really was a labor of love. It really was.
Sounds great. It looks fascinating. Tony, thank you very much for stopping by. We really appreciate it.
All right, good to be with you. Take care.
Thank you.
Get what you needed? Yeah. Fantastic.